We're back. Last podcast of October. I remember back in January felt like it took 6 months to get through, and then all of a sudden we're in October. So here we are, unlocking Silicon Valley. Couple more months left in the year. So I want to talk a little bit at the end of the podcast about what our predictions are for next year. Jeet was asking some questions.
I got some great Dallas Cowboys predictions for the rest of the year.
We can talk about that if you like as well, if there's time.
Dude, you made the Chronicle.
I heard. I was out and about.
They caught you.
Yeah, and I can never wear that jersey again. But I want to start with something kind of, I don't know, maybe controversial, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about it. But so question to you guys. Is it okay to lie?
No.
It's never okay to lie.
Okay. Go ahead, G.
I don't think it's good practice to lie.
Okay. So then,
To intentionally lie and deceive?
So then let me add to that question. You're a listing agent. You're trying to get the highest price for your seller, right? Best terms. You have a fiduciary duty to them, right? They're counting on you to break records and be, top team in San Jose doing what they do. And an agent calls you up and asks you about activity or how many offers you're expecting. Or you get one offer on a property and that agent calls you and you're trying to, create some leverage, push that price up a little bit. You're looking out in the best interest of your seller. So in that instance, is it okay?
Is it lying though?
But you're inferring that we or this person said a lie, meaning that you knew that it was not true. So give us more context.
I'm not saying that I didn't know it wasn't true. I'm asking you as a listing agent.
No, it's
I
not
would say
okay
it's
to
our
lie.
honest opinion.
Okay.
No.
So then.
My goal, I think, I'm interpreting what you're saying, obviously.
Because I've heard all of us talk to agents on the phone, and we're always trying to look out for the best
But the end
interest.
goal is very simple. The end goal is to get the offer. I will always say whatever I have to do to get the offer. I'm not lying.
Right.
I'm not lying. Hey, the activity's been tremendous.
Uh-huh.
Tremendous is a subjective word.
Okay.
It's been very busy.
Uh-huh.
Expecting quite a few offers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend submitting something very strong.
Yeah. And on the flip side of
Is that
that,
a lie?
I've got 4 offers in hand and the highest is 173 right now. If you want.
I didn't say that.
and on the flip side, you're representing a buyer, and I don't know, the seller's asking for $2 million even, and you tell the listing agent, hey, my buyers can only go up to 195. They're not coming up a penny more, knowing that the buyers would be willing to come up if that's what it took. So is it okay to lie to try to save your client $50,000 if you're working with the buyer?
I don't like this question on air, to be honest.
Here's the point I want to make. One, of course it's not okay to lie. However,
All is fair in love.
But is it lying if you
when you're negotiating in sales, right? Who's to say that we have to reveal our hand, right? As a buyer's agent, your job is to save them as much money as you can while still getting the house. As a listing agent, your job is to get the highest price and the best terms for your client. And I think there is a fine line between negotiating and flat out lying. There are agents in our valley that flat out lie. I know we could rattle off 5 or 10 names off the top of my head where we'll ask, hey, do you have any offers? No offers. Then you submit an offer, and then they give you a seller's multiple counter, to infer that there are multiple offers on the table, and we know that we're the only offer. Or they counter back at some ridiculously high price and say they have a higher offer. But I just wanted to bring it up because it's an interesting ethical question.
Dude, that was one hell of a question to start this podcast.
Yeah.
starting off hot?
I think
But
it's
is it-
ignorant to say that you don't lie in a negotiation.
But is it
that's
Just like an attorney, they're gonna lie too. My client didn't do it. Well, there's a video of your client doing it. No, they didn't intend to do that.
You have to prove that it was them. But no, I think in sales and in negotiation, I think it's okay to hold back all of the information that you have and deploy it as necessary to get the outcome that you want.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I was going to say. Is it lying if you withhold information, not revealing all your cards, right? Like just playing whatever card you think is going to net you the highest or the best results.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying in life, I'm not saying in your relationships or with your family or that stuff, but as it pertains to, sales and what we do, I mean, we are dealing with millions of dollars of our clients' money or assets. And so, again, Aaron's job is to get the highest price and the best terms. Jeet's job is to grind that seller and that listing agent down to save their buyers some money. And I think, all is, fair in real estate negotiation.
But when I'm representing buyers, there are sometimes these things that, that I get from the listing agent, like, hey, I have this offer in hand at this price. And, I've dealt with that agent before and I know their reputation or my past experience with them. And I give that information to my buyers, see their reaction and be like, take it with a grain of salt because, at the end of the day, all we can do is do what we feel is right and what we think is what this property is worth, and just put our best foot forward. And if they're lying, we'll get the property. If they're not, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, the art of negotiating, and I think that's one of the things that set us apart, right? I mean, I hear you guys on the phone, and Jason and Mark and everything. And one of the things I think that sets us apart is our ability to negotiate transactions. Whether it's holding back some of the cards or anything like that. I mean, we always talk about who you work with matters, but it really does. And I'll segue into this. How many agents do you think there are, licensed agents in the state of California?
136,000.
There's like 14,000 just in our county, so there should be
there's gonna be way more than 100.
So like 80, 90,000.
Wait, so my California license number is.
I'm gonna say something like 250.
Oh yeah. So your license number is it's 250 active.
Yeah, active license.
I'd say 198.
198.
250.
250.
230.
There are
cheat. One.
There are 204. 204,000 licensed real estate agents in the state of California. And out of the 204,000, the top 25%, which, how much is that roughly? 50K. The top 25%. Yeah, the top 25% of the real estate agents in California, which is the 50K, do 70% of the transactions in the state, which leaves the other 150,000 agents to fight for 30% of the business. And so, I just want to reiterate that, who you work with matters, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, the top 25% do the bulk of the business. Like Aaron mentioned last week, we were the top small team in San Jose last year, which is pretty cool. And I think we'll be at or near the top this year. And it really matters who you work with. It's still to this day. I mean, we talked about losing listings over the past couple of weeks, and the people that we lost them to,
I've never heard of.
Yeah, or haven't sold a fifth of the deals that we have, and it's really interesting to see that homeowners and buyers, don't do their homework.
Speaking of like lying or withholding information, when agents walk in and say, I have more experience. Remember last week's conversation, more experience? Well, you're withholding the information that you haven't done any real estate transactions a year and a half, but you've had your license for 30 years.
Aaron would say that experience is subjective.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Right.
That's right.
I have a question.
Please.
What do you guys think the biggest difference is in our market versus a different market like Los Angeles or maybe up north? Like, what do you think the biggest differences are that maybe home buyers don't know or real estate agents don't know? I think for me, the biggest difference is that we do all of the inspections up front.
I was just going to say
and
that.
so when you're a buyer that's interested in a property, you're given this entire package. You get to review everything before submitting an offer, which is why so many times you hear the word as is, because you've already been given everything. So there's no need for a contingency period for you to get all your due diligence. And these inspection companies cannot lie. They are a neutral third party to the transaction, and they are just there to find things that are wrong with the house.
And I bet you as a result of that, we have fewer transactions fall out than those areas. if I was a buyer, I'd rather be in those other areas to lock up a property, then get the inspections, and then grind the price down. You know, here we take away a lot of those opportunities for buyers in our market, but it also causes, you know, the result of that is smoother transactions.
What other things are different?
Between here and other states, you're talking about wide
We don't have our own reality TV show yet.
Selling Silicon Valley coming.
Yeah, like overall market, I think what I think separates ourselves from a lot of these areas like LA and stuff is just like the accessibility you can take to get to work and stuff. And I think for that, I think people are more heavily invested in some of these areas and staying closer to work.
Yeah.
So they invest larger. I think LA, it's tough.
I think another big thing is that if you are a buyer, like currently, I can say this because the podcast won't come out until after it's irrelevant. But right now we have a very hot listing. Someone's offering $400,000 over the list price, but we're not taking it because there's an offer date, right? So to try to tell a buyer that's coming from Ohio that you're offering $400,000 more than the listed price, and you're still not going to get it because we're reviewing offers at a certain date and time is a little strange.
Yeah, I think also the type of buyer we have in our county or like our area is very different. They're very highly analytical and they want to know everything, you know,
They're
all
pretty
the data.
sophisticated, yeah.
Yeah, they're very sophisticated over here.
Because the reason I bring this up is I was on my business coaching call and people are in San Diego, Los Angeles, you know, spread out, and their properties are sitting
For 100 days.
So the market has really slowed in the greater California area. And, you know, I think with an election coming, I think that whoever becomes president is going to start to pump up a lot of the economy to try to get that routed and get the interest rates back down. But there's a lot of houses right now that are sitting.
Well, yeah, and that's actually, I mean, you know, Jacob shared that with us before the podcast, is that, you know, nationwide inventory levels are almost at an all-time high for October, right? But in our market, I mean, between single-family homes, condos, townhomes, we only have 1,300. You know, and we're selling 1,000. You know, 1,000 are pending right now. So, you know, to your point, we still don't have the inventory here that we're seeing in the rest of the state.
Yeah, very interesting.
And we never will. I mean, our average days on market are going to stay between 10 and 18 for the foreseeable future. And if your home's on the market longer than that, it's either a unique property or it's overpriced or you have the wrong agent.
What you got there, Jeter?
I got some data. So I was looking at, you know, throughout this year, what's the most expensive home that's sold in our county? Any guesses?
Something
county?
Something in Palo Alto or Saratoga.
And what's the price?
60 million.
Whoa. Okay. Ben?
48.
I'll say 37.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
Atherton is not in our county, right?
No.
Yeah, is Atherton like that?
It is
No,
not.
It's not. So the highest sale was 18 million in Palo Alto.
Oh, it's kind of a quiet year.
Exactly. I was surprised too. I thought it would be at least 20, 30 plus, but the highest sale was 17.95 million in Old Palo Alto on Waverly Street. And
Waverly Street.
the house was 4-bed, 6-bath, 5,600 square feet on a 20K lot. Super flat.
Did the agent double end it?
No.
In Menlo is
Surprising.
not in our
But-
county, right?
No, but it sold 500K over asking. So it was pretty interesting and sold within the first 2 weeks. And the cheapest house, any guesses?
500 single family?
Single family.
500.
Where?
It's got to either be
Alviso or East?
it's got to be East Side or somewhere out in like Gilroy.
Yeah, 320.
Okay, so there are two. Well, the cheapest one, it was a burned down property, so it was really like a tear down. It was all cash, and it was small lot, and that was on the other side in Los Gatos over the hills near Lexington. That was a 1-bed, 1-bath, and it sold for $250,000. But it was a burned down property.
Did you write on that one?
No, I didn't have a buyer for that one, surprisingly. But the second lowest was in Morgan Hill, 1-bed, 1-bath, that sold for $520,000 on a 2,000 square feet lot.
Well,
So yeah, pretty interesting.
Bless those people.
Thank you, Jeet.
Thank you, Jeep.
all right, another question for you guys. Does San Jose need another Costco?
Yes, I think so. Because if you live in Los Gatos, Saratoga,
The west
Campbell. Yeah.
Wow.
Sunnyvale. I mean, you have Mountain View, I guess.
Yeah, they Costco out there.
But there's a hole where they're proposing it, and I think it's good
Well-
because they put one in Southside San Jose,
Yeah, and I love
and
it.
Almaden is way less busy now.
I heard they might be putting in. So there's next to Niner Fit over here in Saratoga, where they have right next door where there was a Walmart, empty Walmart right now. Speaking to the developer of that, they said someone's coming in there and they might be putting it in Asian Costco. So like a large.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But back to my question. Yes, San Jose will be getting a new Costco, not an Asian one that I know of, a regular Costco for everybody.
God bless.
All inclusive here.
Whoa.
We're all inclusive here.
Come on. What is it? Like
Anyway, so much to the dismay of the West San Jose residents, because they adamantly opposed the Costco, City Council unanimously approved it, and there's a Costco going in at Westgate Shopping Center.
Wait,
Across the street.
Yeah, across the street
Oh.
at 5287 Prospect.
It's actually, I think, a very good thing.
is that the one where the Osh was? That
Just
where the
Directly across, man. Don't
yeah,
get all technical
Yeah,
on
we'll
us.
throw a picture up.
I'm not exactly sure
is this the
the
one that
cross.
was in conversation for like the last 5
Yes.
years or so?
Yeah.
Oh, they got that approved.
They got it approved.
That's gonna have a lot of traffic right in there.
I
right by
hate when
Prospect
people
High.
say
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying.
When people say it's not, there's always enough parking that it's not an issue. I don't know
the
any.
traffic going home like on Lawrence is so bad as well. Do you remember? You know where the old Elephant Bar is? They were trying to get an
In-N-Out
burger in
burger,
there.
yeah.
They tried to do a Chick-fil-A, but it's impossible with the traffic coming off the highway. That's the same thing on Lawrence. It's gonna be flush over there.
I think it's going to be
included?
fine.
That I don't know.
You need to realize that people who lived here in 1960, 70, 80, it's not the same place as it was. You guys didn't build enough housing. The lots are too big. There's not enough infrastructure. So it is what it is. I'm sorry.
When we're taking off Visona, I get it.
Yeah, we're going to build on Visona. Los Gatos Boulevard is going to be where Los Gatos has to put all the high density.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Bascom has already started. Campbell is the only one that hit their housing requirements.
Yep.
And I'm so sorry. If you don't like it, sell your house.
Damn.
And if you need to sell your house,
But don't you agree? It just kind of is what it is. Like we need.
it is. And everybody complained about the North 40 project right here and how bad the traffic was going to be. It's not really different. It's about
Not
the same.
different at all. But there's another one going up.
And another one, and another one. So yeah, in 5 years, 8 years, yeah, it's gonna suck. But
You can make a lot of money in your home up until then, and then when you sell it, then it's going to be really good.
Do you think the Costco would affect the home prices around there?
Should help them.
yeah, if anything, it should help. I mean, the traffic becomes crippling, but I don't foresee that happening, right? Where it becomes like a public nuisance. But no, I think ultimately most people like a 5 or 10 minute drive to a Costco. I know I do.
Yeah, well, I had a client that bought a house near Costco walking distance, and he used to be like, "Yeah, Costco is my backyard. I just go on a stroll in Costco whenever I want to."
Yeah, get those free samples.
Free samples, exactly.
And that's right.
That's right.
What do you got, Ben?
What you got? Well, I saw something. I was going to say this a couple podcasts ago, and I completely forgot. When we were talking about like all the squatter laws and everything, and what happens and all that. Did you guys hear about the mansion in LA? The owner of the mansion is the son of the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. One squatter came in, sat around. 2 squatters came in. Next thing you know, the entire place was full of squatters.
It's one that has all the graffiti and
Graffiti all over it. People in the neighborhood, I guess, all caused the commotion. He's now taking care and responsibility for paying their like property taxes over those few months that were they were affected and everything. But I mean, how in that situation would you even be able to get police out there to remove everyone? So what is the rule on that? You can't knock on the door and remove people, can you?
Well, there's a formal process, and in California, it takes a very long time to get rid of squatters or even tenants that don't pay, right? I mean, we have Forbes Property Management. We manage, quite a few doors. And yeah, I mean, the unfortunate side of some of our laws in California is that they are overly tenant friendly. And I don't mean good paying tenants, that's fine. But yeah, when a tenant decides to not pay, there's not a lot you can do right away.
Do they ever have a prop for that? I know we have props for like rent control, but what about like just removing people from their homes?
It will happen one day.
Okay, give me your opinion. What will happen?
I believe that you do not care I guess would be a good word, until it affects you, right?
Correct.
Like, oh, my house will never get broken into, whatever. I'm not going to give more money to this, maybe police, let's say. And then your house gets broken into, and then the police don't come because they're underfunded and they're going to other calls. And then you have all of your stuff everywhere and you feel violated. And then all of a sudden you're affected. So then now you vote for all those props.
Yeah,
right?
bond measures.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, and politics aside, I mean, you typically see the blue states tend to be more tenant friendly, red states more landlord friendly, which is why if you're looking for investments, for investment property, oftentimes it makes sense to at least look at other states because it's all good until the tenant stops paying. And so as an investor, you need to understand what your rights are to recoup that money, or at the very least recoup that property.
Yeah.
But speaking of, next week, vote, right? Everybody here is registered to vote, I hope, that can vote. No convicted felons on the podcast.
Just
Not
beat
convicted.
the aliens.
Beep, boop, beep, beep, boop.
Hey, shout out Karina, my nanny. She's actually taking her citizenship test next week.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she's very excited and wants to understand all of the political things, and I thought it was kind of cool.
Very cool. Is she going to ask for a raise when she becomes a citizen?
She already asked for the raise, thank you.
All right.
But people fought really hard to vote, so I hope that if you're listening to this, you take the time to go do so.
Absolutely, because I have a lot of kids, as you all know, and all but one is of voting age now, and so it's like, get your butt out there and vote. And a lot of kids are like, I don't want, my vote doesn't matter, and if you don't vote, 18 to 24-year-olds, then you're letting some old person, with old views, their vote's going to count and yours isn't because you didn't even show up to the polls.
But a lot of people think like, voting for president or whatever, it doesn't even matter if I vote. And while that is sort of true, especially like in California, what does really count is the local propositions, right? That's what's going to affect you day to day.
Local, state, and then your city council, your mayor, judges, sheriffs, all of those things.
Well, unbeknownst to me, I have been suffering with a bad credit score. And
this is good. Go
I
ahead.
spoke to David and I explained what happened. Basically, long story long, I had a house. I sold the house. It was an investment property, and I never changed the utility bill out of my name. So PG&E.
This is a great PSA.
So PG&E had been charging me for the entire year. That property also sold from that buyer, from different sellers. And I racked up a $5,000 PG&E bill, and I did not own the home. So naturally, I did not pay it. Well, PG&E sent me to collections about 4 years ago, and it's recently popped up on my credit. And it took my credit from like high 7s to 550. So I went to go buy a car the other day and agreed on a price. Everything was good, and they ran my credit, and they're like, we literally can't lease you a car. Your credit's too low. So I didn't know what to do. And credit can affect you day to day, buying houses, buying cars, but just like a rental application, right? Affects everything. So I talked to David, and we have a great credit repair guy. His name is Malik. He's an awesome dude. He runs his own company. So if anyone out there is suffering with credit, maybe you have great income and you just feel stuck in a rut, reach out to us, and we definitely can get you all set up. So good find there, Dave.
Absolutely. And credit score is key to obtaining, the best financing options and the lowest rates, right? So, getting your credit score over 720 to 740, it opens up, a whole new realm of loan options, products, and possibilities. So yeah, absolutely. I've worked with, I don't really talk about it a lot because sometimes people think it's a little taboo, credit repair, but I've worked with Malik for 11 years now, and he has always come through for our clients. So, if your credit score is as low as Aaron's, you should probably call Malik.
Don't worry about what I was buying.
All right, but back to
paying a lease.
All right, so hey,
Lamborghini.
So election day is tomorrow. Vote, and I'm just going to recap really quick, and I'm going to read from my notes here so I don't stumble over them. So just remember this: on the odd number propositions, 5 and 33. You want to vote no. So Prop 5 changes that threshold to pass certain bills, takes it down from 66% to 55%. We don't want that. And then no on 33, which does it repeals the Costa-Hawkins rent control. So no on 5, no on 33. And then the even numbers, 34 and 36, you want to vote yes. So Prop 34 is the healthcare one that puts more of the profits back into patient care. And then 36, which is going to help strengthen some of our felony laws for, the smash and grab property theft, when you're asking about, stronger laws. So yes on 34, yes on 36. And then there is a Measure R. We recommend no. It's a bond measure for the San Jose Unified School District. Not that the schools don't need funding, but the problem with this bond measure, it's a $1.15 billion bond measure. Well, where do they get the money from? They get the money from increasing property taxes. So I'm all for finding ways to fund schools, but I don't think it should be on the back of, homeowners.
Well, so property taxes used to never go above 1.25%. And recently, depending on what area our clients or ourselves have bought houses in, they've been higher than that. And this week, all of our clients, including ourselves, have been sent our statement for our installment, I should say, for our property tax. And that number is pretty big. So for it to continuously keep going up, it's going to ultimately end up what happened with California and gas prices when we're going to be piggybacking. And it ultimately makes home ownership less and less and less desirable after we keep doing these things. Yeah. So unless you want to just rent houses, then keep following the plan, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it. Good podcast, guys.
That's great.
Hey, happy Halloween. Oh, wait. Happy voting day.
All right. No, last thing. Okay, since the election is tomorrow, who's going to win the presidency? Not who you want to win. Not who you want to win.
I think
who do you think is going to win?
I think Donald Trump is going to win.
I think Kamala's going to win.
Donald Trump, I think.
I think Trump's going to win.
Yep.
So, and yeah, we'll, and guess what? It's not really going to affect housing one way or the other. Like most things in life, if you put your head down and you block out the noise and just focus on what's important to you, your family, your health, your work life, everything will be fine.
Sorry, Mom.
See you next time.
See ya.